Hey, somewhere in purple today. It's my fluke, but kind of interestingly enough, I want to talk about Prince first off. There's this song that's in my mind, Go Crazy by Prince, where he starts off saying, Dearly beloved, we are gathered here together to get through this thing called life. Electric word life, and that means forever, and that's a mighty long time. It's a mighty long time, isn't it? See, my birthday was a couple of days ago, and I turned 61. I tell you, I just don't know how to comprehend that I'm 61. I still feel 30. Obviously I don't look 30. That's what they keep telling me. I know that I don't look bad for 61, and I'm grateful for my health, strength, life, a home. There's so much that I'm grateful for. As I have approached this big age, as we call it these days, it's like the term, well, not that big age. But as I've approached this big age, I realize that there's a lot that I want to share. And I am back on my channel to really get consistent with what I'm sharing, to show up here at least weekly, if not twice a week, to share with you. And I'm thinking about lessons learned, and I was asking myself, what are some of the lessons that I've learned at my big old age that would be helpful to share? There's a lot of components that make up Angela. There's the writer who has always wanted to write ever since I was a little girl, to the writing instructor who's taught hundreds of students through colleges here in my town that I currently reside in, of Charlotte, North Carolina. And there's the director of the Mama Stories writing project, which was an anthology that I put together 2 years ago with 12 other amazing women. And there's the part of me that is aging gratefully. And so what I really wanted to talk about was this idea of, what Prince says in that lyric. I'm going to look at it where he says, we're gathered here together to get through this thing called life. And there's a part where he says that it means forever, and that's a mighty long time. And then there's this part where, he says, so when you go to that shrink in Beverly Hills, the one, Dr. Everything's gonna be all right. Instead of asking him how much of your time is left, ask him how much of your mind. Because in this world, things are much harder than in the afterlife. In this world, we on our own. Hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. They might hear that and give me a copyright strike. But that's the theme, I guess, of what I want to share today. This idea of how much time is left. Because when I approached the age of 60, and as I approached that age, no, actually, I have to say that turning 60 is what really made me think about, well, how much time do I actually have left? Most people, well, as I have been studying this over the years, tangentially, as I have heard about other people who've passed away, people who have lived wonderful lives, overall, I would say the average age that a lot of people die is in their 80s, probably, 85. And if you can get to that age and still have all your brain left, like Prince says in that song, instead of asking how much of your time is left, ask yourself how much of your mind. It's realizing that, or I'm not going to say realizing, but just answering these questions for yourself. How much time do I have left? How much of my mind am I going to have left? And what am I doing to ensure health, strength, and my mind? Those are the questions that, if you don't think about them until you're 60, it's too late. I mean, well, but then everyone says, is it really too late? You know, it's, and I'm talking about this as I'm just getting more and more comfortable with sharing and not feeling like I have to be perfect on YouTube. That's what I'm working on. And just talking and sharing with you. These are the questions and thoughts that I'm having at 60 and as I've turned 61. What are some of the things that I'm struggling with? What are some of the things that I've figured out? Things that I can share with you. And I had jotted some things down in my notes this morning. And the whole question was that I was asking myself was, I'm thinking about preparing for the transition, because death is moving from one state to another. It's a transition. That's what transition is. We're moving from the body into energy, into spirit, into that next phase of our lives. And so what is that going to look like? Some of the lessons that I've learned, and I wanted to share that with you. I believe it's important to have an idea of what you want. What is it that you want? And how do you figure that out? When I was a little girl, probably, I'd say as early as 5th grade that I can remember, probably 4th grade, I've always wanted, no. Okay, that's what I remember from being in school. But as a little girl, I wanted to write. I used to write in other books, little stick figures. And I remember thinking to myself, now I'm in a book. My story is in a book. I can remember literally thinking about that. And so I've always known that I wanted to be a writer. And the other component or thing that I also wanted to do as a child or from an early age is I wanted to be an actress. That's what I said. I want to be an actress. And so there's a couple of things happening there. There's this intrinsic desire for something that we really want. And for a lot of us, it happens as children. Now, there's the piece of it where your parents might say, or your parents might think, or other people might think, oh, that's just a phase they're going through. That's just a phase you're going through. Like for the kids that want to take up an instrument and then they realize that, well, I like the idea of the flute, but I don't necessarily want to study, the flute. I don't want to put all the work in that I'm going to have to put in to become good at the flute. I would rather go outside and play with my friends than to be a flautist. So then they're on to the next thing. So how do parents, how do people that love us, how do we even figure out what is a real calling or a real desire versus what is something that we're doing just because it seems like fun at the time? But I can say that for myself, that desire to be a writer and to act has never gone away. And so I think as parents, and I'm parents, potential parents, friends of the child, teachers, counselors, church members, I think what I would have benefited from was to have early on feeling as if someone had taken me seriously. And I'm not saying that they didn't, because I'm thinking back, when I was in the fifth grade, I participated in a poetry contest. This was during the bicentennial. And my dad he actually helped me write this poem, but the poem came from me. But, and again, this is fifth grade. I can't remember everything from back then, but I remember I wrote this poem and it was a finalist in the poetry contest, and I got I got an award, some gold coins that were proofs, and they had the bicentennial on them, and so there was evidence of my writing ability and the ability to be able to put a poem together. I remember writing stories and just loving it as a young elementary school student, and I can remember writing stories in the first and second grade too. So I think that if a child presents some sort of talent early on that seems to come from within, to help them nurture that talent. And there's a fine line between beating them to death over it, to where it's no longer fun. That's a fine line. And I'm going to give you this story about piano playing. My mom really wanted me to learn how to play the piano, and I thought it was fun. My dad was in the military. We were in Kansas at the time, I believe. Actually, I believe it may have started in Maryland. But I started taking piano lessons, and I enjoyed it. When you get there and you're learning how to play, you're learning what the different keys mean, and your teacher is giving you encouragement. I remember her telling me that I was learning how to improvise. And it's fun. I enjoyed it. When we came to Florence, my grandmother kind of beat it out of me. I didn't like it. It became like a mind game to me, because I had to be in like the sixth grade at that point. Because she was like, "Are you practicing the piano? Are you practicing the piano? Are you practicing the piano?" And I think just to get my grandmother off my back, I said to my mom, "I'm not interested in piano anymore." And so my mom said, "Okay, well, no reason." I'm feeling like she probably said this to herself. Well, if Angela doesn't want to play piano anymore, then why am I gonna waste money and time on it? And I don't know that I really didn't want to play piano anymore, but I didn't want to be forced to practice with my grandmother, riding me on it, And so I don't know what the resolution to that would have been, but I know that later in life, of course, I wish that I had stuck with piano lessons. They always say that because when you know how to play the piano, you've got a built-in talent. You can make money at churches. There's all kinds of things that you can do. It's like I want to train myself. No regrets, right? No regrets. There's no regrets when it comes to these types of things. And what I think the components of this that are there that I'm trying to build a connection around is the listening to your children, at the same time talking to them as well. I don't think there's any way that my mother would have known that I was trying to go against my grandmother at that time. I don't know. There's no magical answer to that question. But and maybe the answer is yes, it's a good idea to introduce your child to something that you feel is a good idea, such as piano lessons, but also to listen to that child if they are doing certain things, such as I was writing in my journals. I had journals all the time. I started out with diaries. I would write everywhere I went. Um, but I don't know if I don't feel like like my little desire was taken seriously, nor was my little desire to be an actor taken seriously. Now, I believe 100% that if there's ever anything that you did not get as a child that you wish that you had, then when you become an adult, go for it, do it. I did take an acting class as an adult, and I enjoyed it. And I did think about acting in college, but one thing about acting in college, when you take those acting classes, you have to memorize lines. And if you have other studies and other things that you have to do, memorizing those lines can take a back seat to studying for your history exam or studying for some other class that you have. So then I was in that acting class with all these very serious actors, and I was just like, I'm interested in acting. I've done some community theater, and I want to see what this is all about. But I was not as serious as the actual acting majors. So, but when it comes to us individually, the lesson that I wrote down was it's important to have an idea of what you want, listen within, and if you don't, you may find yourself chasing other people's dreams. That's the component that I really wanted to, to get at, to make sure you're listening to your inner spirit, your inner heart, your communication with your higher power, and otherwise you might chase other people's dreams, other people's ideas, because you're not clued into your own. You can listen to what other people may think or feel, but only judge by your own inner compass. Only judge by your own inner compass. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I don't know if this is going to make sense for anybody else. I hope that it does. If I wanted someone to take away, or what takeaways what I see or feel would be important, for the young people that might tune into this, I really want you to spend some time thinking about what it is that you really want, and that one way that you can get towards that is to do some journaling, is to ask yourself some questions. Literally ask yourself the question, what is it that I want? And just allow yourself to free write about it. And free writing is something that I've talked about before on my channel a couple of years ago. But as a writing instructor, and a person who's studied writing, and I want to say that free writing can help you unlock what is inside your heart and soul and mind. Free writing can help you connect to your inner artist, your inner mind, your higher power, and to allow yourself to just let your mind, let the pen go on the paper without stopping. So I want to give you this exercise as I get ready to wrap up today. And that exercise is exactly what I just said. Get yourself a journal. I've always loved a good hard journal like this, like a hard copy journal, and the kind that I like nowadays have some type of a pocket inside so I can put things in, and they also have an elastic band like this. Eventually I'm going to create a journal that is like the type of journal that I would recommend. And then you can also have an electronic journal. I use a combination of both. I use a third-party notes program that I absolutely love because they're always evolving and growing. But you could use your your notes on your phone. You could use Google Doc. You could use OneNote. But I like to consider that my electronic journal is my backup journal to my actual hard copy journal. And I wanted you just to answer this simple question: what do I want? And just let yourself go with that. So, wrapping it back up to where I started from was a note to Prince and his wonderful writing, aka song, called Let's Go Crazy. And to think about that as well, this could be your second quote. If you could go crazy, where would your heart take you? If you could go crazy, where would your heart take you? And I thank you for your time today. And please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you. Have a great day.